There was a point in my training where the hardest part wasn't doing the workouts. It was the thought that maybe this was as far as I was ever going to get. I was consistent, I trained hard, I didn't skip any days, and yet I wasn't satisfied. I kept asking myself a question that I didn't really want to answer. What if I never actually get big enough? That fear sits quietly in the background for a lot of guys. You don't say it out loud because it sounds ungrateful or impatient, but it's there. And what made it even worse was comparison. Everywhere I looked, there were physiques that seemed impossibly ahead of mine. Guys online who looked fuller, leaner, more complete, and who made it seem effortless. What I didn't understand at the time was context. They had been training longer, many weren't natural, and I was measuring my year 1 against someone else's year 5. But when you're in it, logic doesn't help. All you feel is behind. That comparison shaped a lot of my early decisions. I was afraid to eat more because I'd been told over and over that bulking wasn't necessary, that you could gain the same amount of muscle eating at maintenance, that staying lean was smarter. For a naturally skinny guy, that advice was subtle sabotage. It kept me small. I wasn't under-eating because I didn't care. I was under-eating because I was afraid of doing the wrong thing. Also, like many beginners, I had unrealistic expectations about time. I thought a few months of consistency would be enough to look jacked in clothes. I didn't understand that noticeable size takes a year at least, sometimes even longer, even when everything is done right. So when that didn't happen, I assumed I was doing something wrong. So I compensated by doing more days in the gym, more exercises, more volume, more novelty. None of it worked. The moment that things finally clicked wasn't dramatic. I remember stalling on the bench press for a month or two. And instead of adding more work this time, I asked a different question. What if the problem isn't effort? Because I was giving my best effort every time I went to the gym. I was training to failure. I was doing enough volume. That was the first time I gave myself permission to eat enough, to follow a structured program, to stop chasing excitement, and to start trusting progression. And slowly, things began to change. Strength moved, body weight followed, confidence returned. Not because I found a secret, but because I stopped fighting the process. One of the biggest lessons this journey taught me is that insecurity often disguises itself as discipline. I wasn't being disciplined by staying lean, I was being afraid. I wasn't being advanced by changing exercises constantly, I was being impatient. And patience is something that we're all still learning. The kind that sticks with something long enough for it to work. The kind that doesn't panic when progress is slow. The kind that understands that muscle is built through years, not weeks. So if you're early on in your journey and you're feeling behind, you just might be asking too much from too little and expecting results on a timeline that isn't realistic. And once you understand that, training becomes a lot more rewarding.